You're listening to Just Hit Play with your hosts, Peter and Nick Cabral. If you're tired of your stagnant, streamed music feed, then strap yourselves in for an intergenerational sonic journey through Peter and Nick's favourite songs.
Welcome to episode 80. 80, Nick, of Just Hit Play. I'm your host, Peter. With me is Nick. Nick, can you believe we're up to 80 episodes? That's crazy.
No, that's a wild number to hear aloud. I can't believe it.
You know, you've sort of scaring me with the 100 episode because we're going to listen to a Drake song. Now it feels like it's a countdown to doom, like there's like 20 episodes left, which is, I guess, is still 20 weeks, but it's kind of like a countdown to my doom almost.
Yeah, that 100 is like inching closer to when I'm going to show you like an incredible Drake song and you're forced to admit it's actually good. I can't wait for it.
I'm ready for that challenge because I think I'm going to win that one.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I still have 20 weeks to think of the perfect song.
You do have 20 weeks, and who knows? Maybe in these 20 weeks, maybe he'll record a good song.
Maybe.
How's your week going?
Going pretty well. Had a busy weekend. This is my first time ever working retail on Black Friday.
Yeah. How did that go?
It was okay. I'm alive still. That's the main thing. I survived and won't have to do it again until Boxing Day. So
right, of course.
That's all right.
Yeah. Was it? I'm guessing it was busy.
It was quite busy. Yeah.
Well, you work downtown at the Eaton Center, so if anyone's not familiar with Toronto, Eaton Center is like a big, like, store where a lot of people go. It's probably one of the busier malls in all of Canada, and probably one of the busier stores in all of Canada. I'm guessing for Adidas.
Yeah. It was busy. It was packed. Could barely move. Like when I left the mall or left the store rather to go on break and trying to go through the mall to get to the food court, it was impossible. I couldn't even move. There were so many people.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I'm very happy that Portugal has just won their second World Cup game, and that's giving me a boost of happiness right now.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes with 2 goals, not bad.
Yeah,
Casemiro scored earlier, so that's 3 United goals today.
Yeah, big day for Manchester United players.
Yeah, and what's his name? There's a Uruguayan, I think I've said that properly, player.
Not really, but close enough.
Yeah, no. There's a player who plays for Uruguay. How's that?
Yeah.
Who's on the United's under 21 team. I can never remember it. I can never pronounce his last name, but I think his first name is Fukunda or something like that. And he actually made it off the bench, but still they lost to Portugal. So
yeah, there you go. Manchester United, big day.
So it was a good day for United.
Yes.
So this is my last week here in Canada. So I leave we're recording on a Monday, and I leave Thursday. So I'm in the process of saying, goodbye to some friends and trying to meet up with as many people as I can, packing soon, which is frightening. I've tried not to buy a lot of things. So I'm hoping that I'm leaving almost with the same amount of stuff that I came with a couple of exceptions. Yeah, but I fly out Thursday, so that's crazy.
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like you've been here for that long, like as long as you have. So yeah, I hope you've had a good visit, good time here.
Yeah, the weather's been great. We've had all sorts of weather. We had some rather warm days. We've had some very cold days. There's been some storm days. We've had a lot of snow. Now there's no snow on the ground, but the weather's quite cool, so that's nice. I'm dressing in layers for the first time in 3 years. So yeah, it's been a fun month. So yeah, I'm sad to go. But can't wait to see my lovely girlfriend and my dog. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that'll be nice. When you've been away from home for so long, it's always a really nice feeling to get back.
Yeah,
so,
and
I get it.
And I'm staying at your dad's place, my brother, and he's been lovely, and I've had a great time here, and it's been really good. We're going to trivia tomorrow, so hopefully we can continue our streak of 3 trivia wins in a row. So that's tomorrow. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah. Good luck. Sorry I won't be there. You guys won't get hit 100 without me.
No, probably not.
No, probably not. But hopefully you can still do well.
Yeah. Are you ready to hear some music?
Yeah, absolutely I am.
Okay. So if this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, because I'm in Canada. Even though I was born in Canada, I actually live in Australia. So this month, while I've been home, I've been listening to a lot of Canadian music. So we've listening to Canadian music from the 60s pretty much to the 90s. And this is our last Canadian episode until I guess I come back. And we're listening to Sloan. The song was released in 1993. The song is called Underwhelmed. Darren, just hit play.
She was underwhelmed, if that's a word. I know it's not, 'cause I looked it up. That's one of the skills that I learned in my school.
And so there you go, a little bit of Sloan, Underwhelmed. Now, were you underwhelmed? How did you feel about this song?
I'm kind of lukewarm on this song, to be honest. I wouldn't say I'm underwhelmed or overwhelmed. I think I'm just a little whelmed by this song.
Okay, right.
Musically, sonically, I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's really hard-hitting, and it's got everything I love in like this sort of music, sound-wise, but for some reason, I don't really like the lyrics at all of this song, and or even how the lead singer like delivers the lyrics. I don't know. Those sort of take me out of it a bit when I listen. So I find this much better as like a background song that I don't pay as much attention to.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Sloan. So they're a Canadian rock band. Right now they're based out of Toronto. Again, this was their debut album and was released in 1993, and they're still recording today. They're based out of Toronto now, but at the time when this song came out, they were from Halifax in Nova Scotia. This is their biggest charting song outside of Canada. It went to number 25 in the States in the modern rock tracks. Not like the Billboard tracks, but just the modern rock tracks. It went to number 25. Now, while you've never heard of this song, critically, this song is beloved in Canada. And I have a few examples for that. And there used to be a magazine called Chart Magazine, and they in the reader polls, this was in 1996, the year 2000, 2005, this was voted the greatest Canadian rock song of all time.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nope. I'm gonna wait. Hold on. Let me correct myself. The second greatest rock song ever recorded.
Oh, okay. That's more reasonable.
Yes, because I just realized that the number one rock song recorded by the readers was "American Woman" by the Guess Who.
Gotcha. Okay. Good song.
This was number 2. So critically, it's beloved.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the album after this one was, which was called Twice Removed, was voted again by Chart Magazine the greatest Canadian album of all time, which beat out Neil Young.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, really interesting. I may have to listen to some other songs by Sloan then, because, as I said, musically, I love this song, and I love just everything they were going for, their influences, the bass, the drums, the guitar. It's all great. That side of it I really love, but I think what it is I don't like when they write lyrics to rock songs, and it's just like she said this and then I said that, and like that.
That's
sort
what
of
you
thing.
don't like, yeah.
For some reason, that trope in songs drives me nuts. I don't know
You
what
don't
it
like
is,
it. Yeah.
but I don't like it at all. When they're just like singing about a conversation that may or may not have even happened, it doesn't really do much for me.
Well, there is good news for you, because Sloan are a very interesting band. Each member sings songs. So every album, each member gets about 2 songs that they record and sing on. Strangely, it's almost like Sloan are playing solo music while they have background musicians, because whoever writes the song actually writes everything, and then they bring it to the band and then they play. So the weird thing about Sloan albums is that song by song, it's very different, because there's no real cohesive action by the band. Each song is written by different members, if that makes any sense.
That is so cool. That that's so intriguing to me. Like, I've never heard of a band doing that, and I love the idea. That's really, really cool.
So there's 4 members of the band, and they each are usually responsible for at least one song, but usually 2 songs per person on the album. So that's one of the really interesting things about Sloan, is that sonically, a lot of their music is different. Now, on the first album, this was a very grungy album. A lot of the songs sound grungy. But subsequent from the first album, which is this one, the album was called Smeared. Subsequently after that, that's when their musical style started to change per each band member.
Okay.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like when groups like Wu-Tang Clan, they'd have like a song on their album where it's just Method Man or something. Or if Tribe Called Quest, they'd have a song, it's just Q-Tip, something like that. Where
Outkast did this a lot too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. I love that concept, that idea, and that they were trying something that wasn't really seen at the time. That's I immediately have more respect for them hearing that than based off my impression of the song Underwhelmed.
Right.
Because it sounds like they're taking some cool creative choices and risks, honestly, there.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because this brings up the next topic of the band. So this album did very well in Canada, and it did reasonably well in America. They were signed to Geffen Records. Now, when they recorded the second album, Twice Removed, Geffen Records hated it because it did not have that grunge sound, which was really, really popular at the time. So Geffen asked them to re-record the album, which they said no. And then they received no promotional support at all for their second album. So they had to do everything themselves. Even though Geffen released it, they did no promotion for the second album.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Another reason why music labels suck.
Yeah, it's very different now. So Sloan are still recording. They're obviously not attached to Geffen anymore. But it's so great when you can release music almost directly to your fans. And I think this started with Radiohead. Radiohead, I can't remember that. I think it was in Rainbows, where they released the album to the internet and you could just pay whatever you wanted for the album, which is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, fantastic idea. And that really, I think, set the tone for a lot of just the direction that the indie scene has been going in. And then a lot of even the hip hop acts I like Run the Jewels, they always make their music free for download online. Right. Chance the Rapper, his whole big thing was how he was independent, wasn't going to sign to a label, and he would release all of his music free online for people to download. So I like when bands do that. If they don't have to worry about putting food on the table, if they're financially secure, then I like when they make the choice to just make music accessible for their fans.
So for me, because this album was released in 1993, I was, when the whole grunge thing was happening, I was 18, 19. In 1993, I was 20. And there was all this really great Canadian music coming out. And the great thing about that timing was that I could afford to go to shows. I wasn't, a teenager anymore where I had no money. Like I had so much more freedom. I had a car and I could go just see whatever shows I wanted. And, there's some really great bands like Trouble Charger were coming out. There was a band called The Watchmen that I really loved. Tragically Hip were releasing their best albums. Our Lady Peace were coming around this time. So this is when Canadian music for me sort of became live Canadian music, because I could then go see these bands live. And Sloan are one of those bands that I've seen live a couple of times. And it just afforded me the opportunity to start seeing shows. So that was another reason why I love this album and this song so much.
Yeah, music always hits way better when you can see it live.
Yeah.
Like that just makes it better in your head. And when you go listen to it after you've seen it in a concert, you get all the memories that you've attached to the music, to the band, and it's a way better experience for sure.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned this in other episodes where I had a friend. I used to work a lot of graveyard shifts in the job that I was working at, and I became friends with the DJ on 102.1 The Edge, and I got a lot of free tickets off her because we both worked the night shift, and we would talk like every night, and she would always shoot me free tickets. So it's great when you can make that connection with someone who can give you free stuff. So I went to a lot of shows in the early 90s. to the benefit of me and my friends. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I will always be jealous of that hookup you had.
Yeah.
Like, what a connection! Just getting free tickets to things. I for one am jealous because if I could go to concerts that often, I'd be the happiest man alive.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I saw a few shows back in the day, and no one would call her. It was in the middle of the night, and there weren't many people giving her a call. So I remember, because I was working the night shift, I would just request songs every night, and then we sort of just became buddy. And I met up with her a couple times. She was a lovely person. So it was really neat to have that connection. To someone who was playing my favorite music as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I think what I've been thinking of since you talked about this song, and when I realized that you would have been around 20, 21 listening to this song, and also just putting it in the context of like the grunge scene and Canadian music, I think I would definitely appreciate this song more if I listened to it in the 90s in the context of what was happening in like the musical landscape. Because right now, listening to it now, it does sound a bit dated, especially like I said, the lyrical stuff to me sounds a bit dated now, like very much a 90s song. Whereas if I was listening to this song when it came out, and especially with it probably being like higher quality than a lot of other grunge music that was coming out, I definitely think I would appreciate it more.
Well, in context, if you look at what happened in 1991 when Nirvana had their big Smells Like Teen Spirit and the album Nevermind, it's important to understand, and I probably have mentioned this in other episodes, of what was happening in 1990, where you had MC Hammer was the biggest selling artist. You had Whitney Houston, a big selling artist. Vanilla Ice was huge. A lot of hair metal was really, really big. And so we needed that sort of punk revolution where, we needed that crunching guitar. We needed Nirvana, basically, and then Pearl Jam and Soundgarden to come in. And this would be the Canadian equivalent of those things, just to kill those bands. And MC Hammer died away. Vanilla Ice went away. Hair metal went away for a few years. It was just thank God. It was just a liberation of music. And while it's dated, it's very 90s, this music, obviously. It was very important for this song to come out in. We needed to kill that music, and it did, thankfully.
The music video for the song is also very 90s.
Very 90s.
Like, oh my God, I feel like I was put in a time capsule and put in front of a tube TV watching Much Music was watching that video. Yeah,
no, it was, they were a small band, and the video was done pretty cheaply, as you could tell, with a lot of weird images and weird effects on the camera. Yeah,
it was cool though. Like I don't get me wrong, I like the video a lot. I thought it was really creative, but just very, you can tell exactly when it was made. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, and again, we're getting Canadian music, almost up to where we are now. It's becoming much more professional. There's so much more money in Canadian music compared to like the 70s and 80s, where bands could live with being popular in Canada, which really wasn't a thing up until this point. And this just opened the doors, as for, like I said last week, for your Drakes, your Weekends, your Justin Biebers. This really opened the door for them. And I forgot to mention one band last week, and your dad reminded me that I forgot to mention this person. An amazing artist that was around this time is Sarah McLachlan, who was releasing some amazing music as well. So Canadian music in the 90s was just unbelievable. It was really, really great. So, and thankfully it's still continuing.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess we can say thank you to Sloan for Drake and The Weeknd. So I appreciate their contribution. Yeah.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and I guess, because Drake is older than you, I'm guessing. He's probably in his 30s, isn't he?
Yeah, like 36-ish.
Yeah. So this music would have been probably around when he was a kid. So he definitely would have, been exposed to this music.
Yeah, definitely. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. So,
you definitely can't hear it in his music.
Oh, no. No, you cannot. So again, a really important song in Canadian music history. Sorry. Again, voted number one on many readers' charts and for modern rock charts, but largely forgotten by a lot of people. So I wanted to bring this band back to a little bit of focus.
Would you say this is your favorite song by Sloan?
I do love this song. There's another song called 500 Up, which is also on this album that I really like. And you start to see a little bit of different members singing on the song. But they went from like this to like some songs, they sound like the Beatles. Some songs, they're a little bit more shoegazy. Other songs, they're a little bit more poppy sweet. This was the grunge era. So they're literally all over the place.
Cool. Yeah. I as I've said, I like that a lot. Like, you just don't really see risk taking like that anymore in this genre. And so I think that's awesome. I really do.
Yeah. If you check out some of their other stuff, I think they probably have 10 or 12 albums. And like I said, they've just released an album, which I haven't heard yet, but they're releasing an album right now.
Cool. And again, you love to see that sort of longevity, that like 30 years, they're still putting music out.
Exactly. Yeah, cool. Well, yep. Like I said, I know this one might not have been to your perfect taste, but yeah, give a shot to some other songs.
Sure, I will, because I'm really intrigued by the sound and everything you just said about the band. So
yeah,
I'll give them another chance for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into your song because I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. So am I, because as I said in the last episode of the podcast, my top 10 most listened to songs of the year, according to Apple Music, have been dominated by one person, and that is Yeat. Still Countin' is the lead single from his second album, To Alive, which came out earlier this year. This song was in my top 5 most listened to, and has been one of my favorites since it came out. I haven't really taken it out of the rotation. So, Darren, why don't you just hit play on Still Countin' by none other than Yeat.
Rats came in, I was still in the tonka. Rats came in, they could fit in this tonka. Rats came in, but I'm still in this tonka. Yeah, 7 mil on the table, and I'm still saying tonka.
All right, Still Countin', Yeat. I have a lot to say about Yeat, and honestly, you might too. So why don't you just take the lead with your first thoughts on the phenomenon that is Yeat.
This might be, of the songs that you've gotten me to listen to, this might be one of the only songs where it has like vocal manipulation that I don't mind, because even though there is auto-tune on it, it's not there to make him sound better. It's there to sort of fuck around with his voice a little bit. It's to, like, the music is a little bit off kilter. It sort of puts you not at ease, I guess. That's the best explanation. It's not made to make him sound better. It's making him to sound more fucked up, which I like. Do you think that as well, or am I totally off base here?
No, you are absolutely on base. It is very experimental.
Right.
What he does with the vocal effects and how he uses them, it's honestly the pinnacle of using vocal effects as far as I'm concerned. It adds so much to the song and allows him to use his voice to affect how the song sounds instead of just relying on the production. So I think you're spot on with that.
The other thing I found interesting, and I looked him up on Instagram because I wanted to see what he looked like. He seems to cover his face up a lot, which is quite interesting. And I'm guessing you're going to talk about this later, but it's a really interesting way to go unrecognized, especially if you have 1.1 million people that follow him on Instagram. I think that number is relatively correct. Covering your face is one way to keep your face a little bit hidden. You can lead maybe a normal life. The one thing I didn't like about his Instagram page, there was a picture with him holding like a wad of cash, standing in front of like his Mercedes Benz. I thought that was a little weird. That was a little crass. I didn't like that. I think it's the nouveau riche that sort of do that, and they always look a little just stupid, I guess. But other than that, I was fine with the look, with the the balaclava and the face covered up. I was fine with that.
Did you happen to watch the music video for this song?
No, I didn't. I guess the link that you gave me wasn't the video, so it was just like the audio.
Oh, okay. I remember I sent you a message after saying to just look up the music video, but
sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't look it up. I'll have to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me about the music video.
It's something. It's crazy. It's shot by the iconic Cole Bennett. He's really, really like one of the guys in the hip hop scene right now to get a music video with.
Right. Okay.
And it's a crazy video. Just wild editing, super psychedelic, trippy visuals, crazy editing. It's a really interesting one for sure. Yeah, it's something else.
Well, I will definitely have to give it a watch because I love music videos, and so that's an important to me. Music videos go hand in hand with songs, so I'll definitely have to watch that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
But I want to get in a little bit into the lore of Yeat, so to speak,
Right.
because he's a very interesting figure, and I use the word phenomenon to describe him, and I don't think that's unwarranted. So Yeat is the chosen name of Noah Olivier Smith. He's a 22-year-old rapper, born in 2000, so he's my age, who grew up in Portland, Oregon before moving to LA. And he's been making music off and on since about 2017, 2018. But I don't think anyone on the face of the earth had really heard about him until like summer 2021. And he has had a meteoric rise in popularity in the last year, driven almost entirely by TikTok. And that's a subject. That's a subject that comes up a lot on the podcast. How TikTok is so influential in breaking new artists, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool because Yeat is a perfect example of an artist who has had their career made, going from complete irrelevance and obscurity to being one of the most popular new school rappers right now, all because of TikTok. So in August 2021, the song Sorry About That from his EP that came out that month went everywhere on TikTok, just blew up for no apparent reason other than people thought it sounded new and fresh and cool. Then a snippet of an unreleased song of his titled Get Busy also went viral. And then it wasn't too long after that Drake and Lil Yachty shouted him out on Instagram. They were like, "Oh, watch out for this guy, Yeat. He's going to be sick." And then in September, a couple weeks after getting those cosigns from really big names, he released Up to Me, the album, which is my favorite project of his. Funny enough, also on Geffen Records.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then January 30th of 2022, his song You Could Tell, which is a favorite of mine, was used in an episode of HBO's Euphoria, the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And then February 11th, he released the Still Countin' video with, as I said, the iconic Cole Bennett. And a week later, this album came out with Too Alive, the album, came out with features from Young Thug and Gunna. Again, two really big rappers. And then on June 28th, he made a song for the soundtrack of the new Minions movie.
Oh God, that is a weird trajectory of a career, yeah.
And now by streams, he's one of the most streamed artists on Spotify in North America now per month. Okay. I think I saw he's higher than like Travis Scott, so many artists that we've already had on the show, on the podcast. Big established names, he's just completely surpassed them in terms of listeners and popularity.
Right.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Okay. So it goes to show you how different the world is, where you can start your career from, as you mentioned, TikTok, and that, that's a relatively new thing. And, I don't know how long that'll continue for. Obviously, TikTok will lose, relevance at some point, and it'll be something else. But I guess that's a viable career path now.
It is. It
Strangely,
absolutely
yeah,
is.
yeah.
And yeah, TikTok, and then once he got, I think the shout out from Drake. Honestly, that was sort of the other big one where people who weren't really paying attention to TikTok, anytime Drake puts an artist on his Instagram story or is seen in the studio
Right.
with an artist, that gives them the Drake bump effect where they just immediately explode in popularity too. So that was a big one.
My poor heart. It's funny how, if you go old school ways, the only way to gain popularity is obviously to get a big hit and put it on the radio. But if you weren't that type of band that would have big hits on the radio, you would just have to tour and play the same city like 6-7 times and just be on the road and go and go and go. That's the way you made it. If you weren't like a hit singles band, like a good example that comes to mind is AC/DC, that just toured and toured and toured. And by reputation, in 1980, they released the biggest rock album of all time. It's very different now, isn't it?
Yeah, if you get an Instagram story from the right person, you could be
Right.
set for life.
Yeah,
That's really all it takes.
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand that and to fathom that that's a thing.
Well,
because it's literally 8 seconds, isn't it? Isn't it like 8 or 9 seconds of a song?
It wasn't even that. It was just, I think Drake put a picture of him in the
Right,
studio
right.
with Yeat and
With
said
Yeat, yeah.
something along the effect of "Watch out for this guy, he's up next," and that's all it took.
That it reminds me a little bit in the early 80s, Michael Jackson saying backup, and I can't remember the name of the artist saying backup on a song. And the song became really, really big, but that was the only song that anyone had ever heard from him, the one that Michael Jackson sang on. And then after that, he disappeared. So yeah, I guess that has happened in the past. You have to remember Yeat, helped break Paul McCartney. So no one had ever
Absolutely.
heard of Paul McCartney before until Yeat came along and, finally gave him a big shot into the mainstream. So, yeah.
Well, if Bono, your favorite singer,
Yep.
if Bono said, "Hey, this new band, I really like this new band.
Yep.
You guys should go check him out," would you not at least give him a listen?
That's a really good point because in the 80s, U2 had an independent record label, and I actually listened to a few of the bands they signed to that record label. So yes, that is true. That is a thing.
Yeah, and that's why cosigns from these big artists
Sure.
are so powerful and have such a strong effect. Because if you like an artist, you trust their opinions because you like their music. If they say someone's good, they're at least going to give them a listen. I'm at least going to give them a listen for sure. That's the best way to make it nowadays.
That's a really, really good point. How about his look? Do you know anything about the balaclavas or the hoodies or whatever he wears? What's that about?
Yeah. So Yeat is as I've said, he's such a weird person. He is so strange. He's always wearing, he calls it a turban. The like head face covering thing. He calls it a turban. He's always wearing that. He barely does any media or interviews.
Right.
And when he does, it's like basic answers, like 1-2 word answers. Honestly, it seems like he can barely put a coherent sentence together half the time.
Right. Okay.
Either due to just him not being very smart, him not being interested, or him being so high on any combination of drugs.
Yeah.
And he's only active on social media to promote music and to like garner hype for his releases. So he's a really, really weird guy. I read one of the only interviews he did was with Complex magazine. It came out, I think, last month because he was on the cover of it. Again, super sparse interview. And they asked him like what he does other than making music, or like, what does he do in his own time? And he said, I don't really like leaving the house. I just like staying home and playing video games and making music by myself in my home studio. That's really all he does all day. So interesting figure for sure.
And technology has made that easy for people to do. That's a thing. You can definitely have a career by doing that.
Yeah, he said he gets beats like instrumentals sent to him from producers, and
Mm-hmm.
then he adds things or takes things away that he doesn't like,
Right.
records his parts of the song, and then he mix masters and engineers the whole thing from there and puts it out. So yeah, he just does it all by himself pretty much.
And, isn't technology wonderful? Like, I'm sitting in your father's living room or his dining room, sorry, with a camera pointed at me, and you're in Toronto, but other times I'm in Australia, and we can record, like, there's really no delay. If you think about the distance traveled when we talk, sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, but not really. Like it's crazy what we can do by sitting in a dining room, right?
It is. Or
Yeah.
sitting in a dark home studio and making
Right.
music.
Yeah.
Like it's
While
nuts.
probably really high, wearing a balaclava. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said you actually didn't mind this song. So what did you think of like just the overall sonics of it, the
Yeah.
aesthetic of the song? Like you liked all that?
I did. I thought it was. I have no idea what the song's about. I'm just taking it on a very face value of how it sounded and how the rapping sounded. The one thing I will say is that if he does the auto tune like this on every song, I think it'd be a little bit grating to me. I think here and there that's fine. Um, I like variety in music, so I think if he does get a lot of beats sent to him from different producers, sounds like there's a lot of variety in his music, and I hope there is. Again, I'm totally out of context here because I'm really just basing my understanding of him based on this one song.
Right. So Yeat falls into the subgenre of hip hop that's called rage music. That's what the subgenre is titled.
Okay.
And it's characterized by super high BPM beats,
Yep.
really bassy synths, and basically it just sounds like chaos, right? That's what rage music is. It just sounds like organized chaos, and rappers put on heavy vocal effects and do their thing over it. And the rage music was made by Playboi Carti. Like he is
Right.
the
Okay.
originator of that.
Yep.
He created the whole sound really with his Whole Lotta Red album. So we have Carti to thank for Yeat, and it makes sense that I like Yeat so much because Playboi Carti, also one of my favorite artists. So
Yeah.
Yeat just really sounded like a next evolution in that sound for me, and that's why I love him so much.
Right.
And
that makes
also,
yeah.
yeah, and I was just going to say that Yeat himself has said his biggest influences musically are Young Thug, for what he does with like his voice, which shifting pitches and making really weird sounds. That's all Young Thug. He brought that to the forefront, as well as Future. We listened to Codeine Crazy by him.
Yeah, remember that.
And one of your favorites, T-Pain. He loves T-Pain, Yeat.
Yeah, a lot of people like T-Pain. Again, T-Pain is one of those. T-Pain can sing so well. He's got a lovely voice, but yeah, the whole auto-tune thing, freaks me out. I don't know. I don't get it.
That's fair, but I appreciate that you were able to see the value in it when it's used like it was for this song. Still counting.
Well, if we look at a rapper in the sense, I obviously rock and roll is my favorite kind of music, and what guitarists can do with guitars and how they can make guitars sound distorted or chimey or have a lot of reverb. I guess in that sense, a hip hop artist is almost like a guitar. Like they're trying to make their vocal sound as different as they can. And I guess it's whatever I can put up with at any given time.
There you go. Well,
yeah,
I guess now we know that you like it when Yeat does it, at least on this song. And that's better than I was expecting. I did not think you would like this song. So I'm quite pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah. No, I like rage music. I love anger in music. It's really, anger in music is really important to push music forward, I think. And so I did not mind the song. I liked how fucked up it was. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to touch on is he has a really funny dictionary of words that he's invented and he uses a lot in his music.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny.
So he uses the word twizzy a lot. which means twin or friend. So referring to someone as your Twizzy.
I get it.
And then another big one, which is like featured very prominently in this song, is Tonka. This guy is obsessed with saying Tonka. He says it in almost every song of his. And this song, he says, like the hook is literally Rax came in and I'm still in this Tonka. And that just means big car. Like he's riding in a big impressive SUV.
Tonka.
Car.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, this whole song is about how he's now finally getting big. He's making money. He's signing these deals, collaborating with music video directors, but he's still saying Tonka. You know, Rax came in, money's coming in, but he's still going to say Tonka, even though most people listening probably have no idea what he's talking about.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I always think that's funny.
No, that's cool. I guess Snoop Dogg did something similar with a lot of the things that he says, so that's kind of cool that that's continuing.
Yeah, it's nice. It adds consistency, honestly, to his music. You're listening to a Yeat song because he's going to start saying things like Twizzy and Tonka and LaCrank and geeky and just weird words. I don't even know what half of them mean, but they sound cool when he says them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, cool.
And
yeah.
The t-shirt I'm wearing right now also is Yeat merch. Ordered this from his online store. Yeah, I think it's meant to be like a cartoon version of him holding a cup of green substance, which is probably drugs.
Oh, maybe it's code. What's that codeine drink?
Yeah, it's probably like green lean or something.
Yeah. Cool. And I'm wearing a Johnny Cash shirt, and he's giving you the finger. Not you specifically, just generally.
Yeah. There you go. We've got our artist merch on today.
Yeah. Okay. So my other question is, does he play live or is he stuck in the basement?
No. He's done a couple live shows. Actually, he may have just wrapped up an American tour. He sucks live. He can't perform live at all. He like whatsoever. He can barely rap along to his own songs. Again, I don't know if he's just not good, if he's not practiced. We do have to remember that this guy was a nobody a year and a half ago.
Sure.
And he's also still pretty young. So it's either that or, again, he's way too high on a cocktail of drugs to perform. But having said that, his concerts look insane, and I would pay good money to go to one. Just because of like the energy of the show and the mosh pitting that goes on. They look like so much fun to be at.
Well, if he plays Toronto, then you have to go be the roving reporter and report on the show and give us a review on the gig.
Yeah, I sure will. I really hope he can come one day. Me and all of my friends are all Yeat fans, so we'll pull up like at least 10 people deep to this concert and give a review.
Maybe because we have this podcast, you could write it off in your taxes as research.
Maybe. No, that's a fantastic idea.
Well, we'll have to try to figure out who we know in Revenue Canada, see what we can figure out there.
Yeah, we'll have to do some digging into that.
Yeah. Cool. No, I really dug it, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. Big surprise for me, but yeah, I like that you like this song.
What song do you have for me next week?
Next week, we're going to listen to Amphetamine by Smino.
Amphetamine by Smino. Okay, no idea what that is. I'm looking forward to checking that out.
I think this is a bold prediction, but I think you are going to love this song.
Right. Let's figure it out. Let's see what we've got. Yeah. Since I'm leaving Canada, we're going to stop with the Canadian music for a bit. I like to do themes, so we're going to do a new theme starting in December. I want to do a theme of acts that I love, that I absolutely love, that were never really big and sort of just hovered just under the mainstream. And I'm going to try to pick songs that weren't big hits, but I loved as well. And to start this journey that we're going to go on, we're going to listen to a band called Cracker, and the song is Eurotrash Girl.
Okay.
So that's what you got for next week.
What a title. I love it. So already intrigued.
Yeah. So that's your song for next week.
Awesome. Can't wait to get into it. Yeah. With a title like that, I'm going to listen to it immediately.
Cool. So at the end of each month, we like to play something called "Who Played It Better," and we're going to continue that this week. So we're going to play an original song by the original artist and a cover song by a different artist. So the one that we're going to do is in honor of my brother and Sylvie, his girlfriend, who recommended these two songs. One is "Sound of Silence" by Simon and Garfunkel, and "The Sound of Silence" by Disturbed. Two very different songs. I know which one I like personally. So we're going to listen to Simon and Garfunkel, and we're going to listen to "The Sound of Silence." So Darren, let's play a little bit of "Sound of Silence" by Simon and Garfunkel.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come.
All right. And now we're going to listen to a little bit of "The Sound of Silence" by Disturbed.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Two very, very different songs. Okay. Which one are you picking? You picking Simon and Garfunkel, or are you picking Disturbed?
I'm going to go with Simon and Garfunkel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a better version. I appreciate the Disturbed version a lot because they took a song and did something polar opposite. They recorded a polar opposite version, and it works. It is a really good song, the Disturbed one, but I just think the original is I just like it a bit more, honestly. I just think it fits the lyrics better and is a better vibe. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the original.
As am I. I'm not the biggest Disturbed fan in the world. I don't really like their music. I would say, of all the songs that I've heard from Disturbed, this is probably the one I like the most, because they didn't write it, probably. But I also will go with Simon and Garfunkel because I love "The Sound of Silence" by Simon and Garfunkel. How about you, Darren? Are you choosing Disturbed or Simon and Garfunkel?
Simon and Garfunkel, of course.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Darren. And Nick, what are your plans for the rest of the week?
Same as last week. World Cup, school.
Right, yep.
And got some shifts at work. So, yeah, that's really it. Sad about Canada. Probably not going to go through, but they had a good run. The Canada men's national team, very proud of them. Yeah. And excited to see Portugal carry on in the World Cup. So
yeah, Portugal made it to the knockout round. I'm trying to see as many friends as I can before I go, so I'm going to drive to Hamilton tomorrow and meet up with a couple of friends. Trivia tomorrow night. I'm going to have lunch with my cousin, who I haven't seen yet. And what else is happening? Oh, yeah, I'm on a plane for 24 hours. I'm not looking forward to that. So, excuse me. Yeah, not looking forward to that plane ride. That's going to be brutal. But hey,
if you're looking for something to do on that plane ride, you should listen to all of Yeat's discography and report back.
Download it all, because once I get on that plane, I have no access to Wi-Fi. So at least I'm not paying for access for Wi-Fi. Maybe that's a better answer. I don't pay for access for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, they're scamming with that thing. The paying for Wi-Fi, it's absurd. So I don't blame you. I wouldn't pay for that.
I still have, I think, 20 hours left in my Nazi book. So I have a book that I'm listening to called "The History of Nazi Germany." I still have 20 hours left to go, so I think that's what I'll be listening to in my adventures home, which is weird. I maybe people wouldn't want to listen to a book about the Nazis when they're stuck on a plane, but I don't know. Sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some nice, light, enjoyable, easy listening for your trip, isn't it?
This is the third time I've listened to this book because I really love this book. There's about a 2-hour segment on the Holocaust that pretty much leaves me in tears for 2 hours because it's absolutely brutal. Because he does not spare any expense on the description of what happens. And he tells really personal stories. So yeah, I'm literally in tears for 2 hours. So we'll see how that goes. Who doesn't want to sit next to a grown man crying on a plane, right?
Yeah, then you're that guy.
Yeah. Then you're that guy. Yeah, I'll be on TikTok. This guy's crying next to me on a 14-hour flight. Yeah.
He's sobbing uncontrollably. Someone get me the hell away from him.
Right, I'll be that guy. So maybe I can go famous on TikTok. I should wear like the Just Hit Play shirt and just cry on a plane.
Yes, there you go. New viral marketing idea.
Right? I'm just going to show places with the Just Hit Play, listen to the 2 hours, but the Holocaust and just cry.
Yeah.
And see if we can get some play.
Yeah, we'll workshop that. We'll workshop it.
Maybe that's not the best idea in the world. Cool. So let's listen to our independent artist this week. So here's who we have. We have a band called Single Brass Faction with the song Criminal, which was co-written by Denise, I'm going to say Sedana, I believe her name is. So Single Brass Faction originated from Las Vegas. The artist is called Gil Faction, and he worked as a trio, but then moved to Texas and then just worked as a solo sort of artist. He's got a new album coming out next year called Lands and Grooves, and he's going to support himself in 2023 with the new album. And now, as the Sloan song was very 90s and very sort of raw, I think this song Criminal fits that perfectly. It's a really raw sounding song from Single Brass Faction. So we're going to listen to Criminal. Nick, I will talk to you next week in Australia. And Darren, just hit play. Thanks, guys. Before you go, Darren, I want to thank whoever is downloading your episodes from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thank you. Reach out. Every episode I think has been listened to from Albuquerque. So reach out, send us an email, let us know who you are. We're very happy that you listened to our episode. Yeah. So we'll talk to you next week.
Took it from me like a criminal. I couldn't steal it back from you if I wanted to. It doesn't matter how fast I'm trying to go. Lights that are flashing additional. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Could I even change a criminal? I could handle the pain if you want me to. My love for you is unconditional. Shackle to you, it's not traditional. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Maybe let's stay together in a 6x8 forever. Maybe I'm not going anywhere. We're criminals together. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Maybe let's stay together in a 6x8 forever. Baby, I'm not going anywhere. We're criminals together. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Maybe it's just the end of our time.
You've been listening to Just Hit Play. To contact your hosts, Peter and Nick, or to be featured on an episode as musical talent, email justhitplay7300@gmail.com. Keep up to date with news and announcements by following on Instagram and Facebook, linked in the show notes. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher to tune in next week for more sonic delights. And if you can't wait till then, check out the Just Hit playlist on Spotify, linked in the show notes. A special thanks to Braden Munch for the theme song, and thank you for listening.